What's going on, YouTube? I wanted to share with you a quick tech tip that I use to solve the issues of a solenoid cover with either worn out threads, or it's just not fitting right, or when you screw this in it flops around too much. The solenoid cover flops around too much in the front block. I have noticed that this is very common, although not exclusive, to carnivores. I don't know if it's because these threads are so thin on this particular solenoid housing, but I've ran into it a few times. If your threads are worn out due to cross threading or something like that, this may not work, but it's worth a shot. Otherwise, this may help you out. So let me show what you do. So when you screw this guy in, you're typically met with either the threads aren't engaging, or if they do engage, this wobbles around way too much, or it pulls out way too easily, and that is not desirable. So what I do is I put an O-ring on here. This is just a P7 O-ring from a generic Harbor Freight metric O-ring kit. Doesn't have to be anything crazy. I just wanted a bumper from where the solenoid body meets the front block. So what I do is I take some foil tape. You can find this at any hardware store or online. It's just called metal tape or foil tape. Sometimes it's in the roofing section at your hardware store. But you take some of this and you want to cut a strip off that is the same width as where the threads mate. So in this case, this is only a 1/4 inch wide by an 1.5 inches long. And when you cut this, you want to have the straight edge, the edge that is on the tape, when you put this on, face that straight edge towards the O-ring. So you want the flat edge against this side of the threads, and I'll show you why. So all you're going to do, and what you're going to need, depending on how bad your threads are, this is kind of a trial and error thing. Not one measurement won't fix all, but this foil tape is cheap. You can kind of just try different lengths and different thicknesses and things like that. If you do this, I would recommend using one length of tape. Don't add a layer, try screwing it in, and then say, oh, I want to put on another layer. That's going to get bunched up in the threads, and it's just going to cause you more problems. When you want to take this thing apart, it's going to, potentially not fit right, etc. So all I'm going to do is take that strip, and like I said, we're going to take the flat edge, and we're going to put that on against the O-ring there. We're just going to get started. Try to get the flat side as close to that O-ring as we can till we go around all of the threads. And another thing you want to look out for is make sure that your leading edge goes over the same direction that you'll be screwing this in. So of course it's right-handed, or right-hand threads. So when we screw this into the front block, that's where my seam is. It's pulling the seam into the threads, not the other way. So if you do it the other way, it's going to pull that leading edge up, and it's going to mess up your job. So we got our tape in there. This is just one layer. Like I said, if your threads are especially bad, you may need two. It's just a matter of trial and error. So not a ton of excess on the end. We got a little bit, but it's not a big deal. So before, this was really loose, and we'll get this started, get it started as straight as you can. We aren't replacing the threads, we're just beefing them up on this thing. So you'll feel it. If you feel any resistance at all, back off, try again so you don't cross thread this thing. We're just going to screw that all the way into the front block. Should be nice and smooth. And then we don't want to really hork this thing down, but we do want it snug. So right there, it's nice and tight, and it's compressed that O-ring, not all the way, but it's enough to keep this from moving. So compared to what it was, this thing isn't going anywhere. It's not really obvious on the back. If that bothers you, you can cut shorter pieces of tape. I like to have lots of engagement, so a little bit of excess visible from there doesn't bother me. But if it bothers you, you can make the width of your tape a little narrower, and you can't even tell that this is under the solenoid cover, but it really beefs up those threads. If you need to take this thing apart, you just replace the tape, nice and straight on there, and she lives to shoot another day. So hopefully you found that helpful. Like I said, this tape is cheap. I've used this fix on a couple different guns, and they're still going strong today. So enjoy.